What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today once again, we're going to talk about Kobe being Bryant. And in Kobe's career, he was a 5-time NBA champion and the best player of the 2000s. And watching him growing up, he was my personal favorite player due to his killer mentality, his great scoring ability, and overall his mindset as a winner and an NBA champion. And if you are a big time Kobe fan just like me, and you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure to do so, as I make videos like this 3 to 4 times a week. So with that being said, let's get into the video and rank Kobe's 5 NBA championships. And first up, we have his championship run in 2000. And this year Kobe was in his 4th NBA season and he was 21 years old. And being 21 years old, it's pretty difficult to be on a championship team. But Kobe in the playoffs played tremendously well, averaging 21.1 points per game, 4.5 boards, 4.4 assists with 1.5 blocks, as well as 1.5 steals on 44% shooting. And this Lakers team had a 15-8 record en route to the championship. And as you guys know, the Lakers were playing the very tough and competitive Western Conference. In this run, they beat the 44-win Kings, the 53-win Suns, and the 59-win Blazers. And the biggest games Kobe had in this playoff run, in Game 5 versus the Kings, faced elimination, he had 17 points on 44% shooting, and in Game 7 versus Portland, he had 25 points, 11 boards, and 7 assists in a comeback Game 7 victory. In that game, Kobe had more points, rebounds, assists, as well as blocks when compared to Shaq. So in the most important game of the year, in his first ever Game 7, Kobe came up big and shut up for the moment.
Portland has 3 timeouts left, the Lakers have 2. Bryant to Shaq!
Now, when looking at Kobe's stats in the finals, they are a little bit deceiving, and looking at his numbers, they really aren't that impressive for an NBA superstar. But to add context in this series, 8 minutes into Game 3, Jalen Rose purposely injured Kobe by sticking his foot under him on a jump shot. And a lot of NBA fans forget Kobe actually missed Game 3 of this series. But in Game 4, he bounced back in a big way, having 28 points, 5 assists, and 4 boards on 51% shooting. And near the end of that game, Shaq actually fouled out, and a 21-year-old Kobe took over the moment and had the game-winning putback layup to give LA a commanding 3-1 lead.
Foul now because you got one to give. They won't shoot free throws.
Shaw running one-hander, followed in by Kobe Bryant.
And as you guys know, LA would finish off Indiana in 6 games, with Kobe winning his first ever championship. When it comes down to it, I rank this 2000 championship run as Kobe's 5th best championship in his career. Now next up at number 4 for Kobe's best championships, we have his 2002 title. And this year Kobe and the Lakers were looking for the elusive three-peat that is a rarity in NBA history. And when it came to the playoffs, once again, he was fantastic, averaging 27 points per game, 5.8 boards, nearly 5 assists, on 43, 38, and 76 splits. And LA had a 15-4 record en route to the title. And stats-wise, this championship run is the most difficult run out of the Lakers' first three-peat. In this run, they beat the 49-win Blazers, the 58-win Spurs, and the 61-win Kings. In the finals, they beat the 52-win Nets. In NBA history, this championship run ranks 4th in opponents' win percentage and 4th in SRS. And if I had to describe this run for Kobe in one word, I would say consistent. After Game 2 of the first round versus Portland, in 17 straight games, Kobe had 20-plus points. That is the 9th longest streak in NBA history. Also, in addition to that, Kobe, when it came to the big-time moments in fourth quarter scoring, he was 1st in total points at 154 and 1st in average at 8.1. And unlike 2000 in the finals, he was actually healthy and performed very well, averaging 27 points per game, 5.8 boards, 5.3 assists on insane 51, 55, and 81 splits. And LA absolutely thumped Jason Kidd's Nets. And a pretty interesting side note in that final series, Kobe was playing Kerry Kittles, a guy who was taken ahead of him in the 96 draft. So in this series, Kobe, I definitely think, had some added motivation to beat that Nets team, and he definitely did that, severely outplaying one Kerry Kittles. Now next up, we have Kobe's 3rd best championship run, that being his run in the 01 playoffs. And personally, I think this is Kobe's most underrated season and his most underrated championship run. If you look at his stats in the playoffs, he averaged 29.4 points per game, 7.3 boards, and 6.1 assists. And keep in mind at this time, Kobe was only 22 years old putting up those stats in a championship run. I also want to note his shooting splits for a quote-unquote inefficient player are definitely pretty impressive, shooting 47% from the field. And this Lakers team had an unprecedented 15-1 playoff record en route to the title. And one thing I want to note is how difficult this championship run was. In all 4 playoff rounds, they beat a 50-win team. They beat the 50-win Blazers, the 55-win Kings, the 58-win Spurs, and the Sixers, who won 56 games. Till this day, they're one of only 4 teams ever to beat a 50-win team in every single playoff round. And individually for Kobe in this run, his 2 best games were actually back-to-back. He had 48 points versus the Kings and 45 versus the Spurs. And versus Sacramento, he averaged 35 points per game, and versus the Spurs, he averaged 33.3 points per game, leading both those series in scoring average. And when it comes to the finals, once again, Kobe had a very good showing, averaging 25 points per game, 7.8 boards, 5.8 assists, with 1.4 steals, 1.4 blocks on 42% shooting. And the Lakers took down AI Sixers in 5 games.
We basically were at the top of our game at one point. And it was always a war. You know, obviously, he was too big for me, you know what I mean? So I couldn't guard him because he would just take me into the post. I ain't have a chance. But he would guard me. You knew you had to come with your best. There was no half-stepping. He coming to compete, coming to fight. Got the biggest heart in the world. Ultimate competitor.
And that championship win capped off one of the most dominant playoff runs for a duo, and individually Kobe had one of the best playoff runs in NBA history. That's why I ranked this run as the 3rd best championship in Kobe's career. Now finally, we get to the top 2, and this right here was the most difficult decision of this entire video. And at number 2, I put Kobe's 2010 championship run, and this right here was Kobe's 5th and final championship. In the playoffs, once again, he was fantastic, averaging 29.2 points per game, 6.0 boards, 5.5 assists, on very impressive 46, 37, and 84 splits. And once again at this point in Kobe's career, he was still playing the very tough Western Conference that went 8 teams deep. And actually this year, the 8th seed won 50 games. That's how tough the 2010's West was, and Kobe's Lakers absolutely ran through that conference en route to the championship. And just like 02, Kobe's team beat 4 50-win teams en route to the championship, one of 4 teams ever to accomplish that feat. And looking how he played in the finals, the stats are actually kind of deceiving, as watching the games, they're actually a lot better than his stats say. But still, they're highly impressive, as he averaged 28.6 points per game, 8.0 boards, 3.9 assists on 40, 32, and 88 splits. And LA beat Boston in a thrilling 7-game series.
It was kind of the perfect series, playing the Celtics, and then beating us in 08, and then having 5. I mean, we joke about that a lot, but the most important thing was beating the Celtics because of everything that they've meant to this organization. And it was a tough series for me. Most people don't know this, but I had a bone spur in my ankle. And then a couple of games in Boston, I had to leave the game, go back in the locker room and get it injected because I could barely walk. And I had a broken finger that I was playing with. I had a cast on my right finger. And then I was having to deal with Garnett, Pierce, Ray Allen, Rondo, Rasheed Watt, I mean, all these guys, and having to figure out how to get through that series. And so it was a big relief to win. First and foremost, it was a relief to win and get out of that series alive. If I lost 2 to the Celtics, man, I've been miserable.
Now for this 2010 run, there was 3 things I have to note. First up, how difficult it was. I already gave some stats, but looking at the players he faced, it's an all-time gauntlet of superstars. He beat KD, Westbrook, James Harden, Darren Williams, Paul Millsap, Carlos Boozer, Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Jay Rich, KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Rondo. Now I know all those guys weren't in their prime, some were younger and some were older, but off name value, that is an absolutely stacked list of championship caliber players. Now also once again I have to note how good Kobe was in the 4th quarters in this playoff run. In total, he was 1st in 4th quarter points and 4th in 4th quarter scoring average. The only player in the NBA top 5 in both those categories. Also in this run, he had 14 games of 30 plus points. That ranks 4th all time, only behind Jordan and Hakeem. So we're looking at his 2010 run, the stats, the competition, the overall teammate help. All of it's very impressive, and for my personal list, it comes in at number 2, barely behind the next championship, that being his championship in 2009. And if you look at the stats, he averaged 30.2 points per game, 5.3 boards, 5.5 assists on 46, 35, and 88 splits. And once again, LA went 16-7 en route to the championship. And stats-wise, in this run, Kobe had some all-time great feats. He's one of 4 players ever to average 35-5 en route to a title. And for a championship run, he had the 7th highest scoring average at 30.2. Also in total, he had the 8th most points ever at 695. Also in this playoff run, Kobe had 15 30-point games. That ranks 3rd all-time, only behind Jordan and Hakeem. And when it came to 4th quarter scoring, Kobe once again ranked 1st in total points and 3rd in points per game average. And like for every championship run for Kobe in the West, he faced some all-time great competition in every single round. In the first round, he beat the 48-win Jazz. The second round, the 53-win Rockets. The Western Conference Finals, the 54-win Nuggets. And the NBA Finals, the 59-win Magic. And speaking of that finals series, Kobe had his best finals performance ever, averaging 32.4 points a game, 5.6 boards, 7.4 assists, 1.4 steals, 1.4 blocks on a 46% shooting. And why I gave 09 the edge over 2010 is because in 09, Kobe won his first ever finals MVP and his first championship after Shaq left. And at the time, that was a very, very big deal for Kobe and his overall legacy, as the narrative up to that point is that Kobe couldn't win a championship without Shaq. So the 09 season was kind of a revenge tour for Kobe, and he capped it off with the best finals performance of his career. So with that being said, that is my final rankings of Kobe's 5 championship rings. And as always, thank you guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.